Good day, and welcome to the 2020 Wisconsin Ability Summit. Today, you have joined our final session for the month, Neurodiversity and Talent Acquisition. We'd like to begin by thanking Manpower Group for being the virtual sponsor this year. I am Tracy Glorioso, Director of Operations at Experis, a Manpower Group company. I'm also very humbled to be on the board of Disability in Wisconsin. Please remember to keep your videos off and lines muted during the session. If you have questions throughout the discussion, please post them in the chat. To enable closed captioning, please refer to the document posted in the chat. We'd like to begin by recognizing our member organizations. To begin with our charter members, Associated Bank, Wrangham, Freighted and the Medical College of Wisconsin, American Family Insurance, Old National Bank, Kalahari Resorts and Conventions, CUNA Mutual Group, and University of Whitewater. Our sustaining members, Franklin Energy, GE Healthcare, Manpower Group, Rockwell Automation, Northwestern Mutual, ABB, Oshkosh, Train Technologies, and Kimberly-Clark. And now to our business and community members, Wallow Brands, Versatile Interpreting Services, Mindshift, My Choice Wisconsin, Easter Seals Southeast Wisconsin, Goodwill, MCFI, Best Buddies, and ERI. And finally, we'd like to thank the sponsors for today's session, Old National Bank, Wrangham, Northwestern Mutual, Oshkosh, Franklin Energy, Train Technologies, Kimberly-Clark, Associated Bank, Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin, and CAI. We are now ready to begin our session. Let me introduce you to Ramon Heredia, Associate Program Manager, AWW Lead of Receivable Operations.
Thank you, Tracy. First of all, let me start by saying it's a real honor to be here and take part of such a meaningful discussion. I really look forward to hearing all about the incredible work that's been accomplished by this influential panel, and hope that we can have a fun and honest conversation. So, hello everyone. My name is Ramon Heredia. I am a program manager for JP Morgan. I'm also the head of the Autism at Work program for receivable operations, as well as the Chicago market. I'd like to give you guys a little bit of background on what exactly receivable operations is. So in receivable operations, we process physical payments, whether it's personal checks, corporate checks, money orders, you name it. I know what you're probably thinking. The answer is yes. People still write checks today, and they write lots of them. We employ over 3,500 employees. We process 15 million payments a month, which equates to about $60 billion. The livelihoods of the consumers are in the hands of our employees. You see, we process payments for their loans, their mortgages, their utility bills, medical bills, and even donations. It's critical that we have a strong, talented, and communicative workforce. And we're also aware that in order to have an ever-improving team, there needs to be an element of diversity. The diversity of the workforce, specifically for all of our investment banking operation, is 56% female, 29% Black, 21% Hispanic, and 11% Asian. For receivable operations, our diversity is much higher, and we're continuously trying to drive those numbers in a positive direction, especially considering that the unemployment rate for this group is roughly 4% higher than the national average. Now, when we talk about diversity, oftentimes we fail to mention the neurodiverse. With the Autism at Work program here at JP Morgan, we've identified an opportunity to further expand our definition of diversity. But before I go into the details of the program, I'd like to throw some facts your guys' way, if you don't mind. Some of these you may already know. There are roughly 70 million people across the globe diagnosed with autism. 65% of those individuals are unemployed, and that does not even mention the number that are underemployed. This is 9 times greater than the global average, even accounting for all the recent job losses due to COVID-19. What's more is that although 35% of the 70 million people go on to earn a college degree, the rate of unemployment for this group is 85%. I use this as an example. How is it that someone with the intellect to earn a college degree cannot find employment? It's because we have not built an inclusive environment for all. During an interview, things we typically look for are the strong handshakes, the constant eye contact, the right words that'll grip our interest. And if we don't see any of these qualities, we may say that the person is not qualified for the role. We don't realize it, but we're penalizing people for being different. There is a huge market of untapped resources ready to contribute their skills to companies in all industries. We just need to be more inclusive. So I'd like to spend the next few minutes taking you on our journey and talking about how we were able to successfully launch the Autism at Work program within JP Morgan. 5 years ago, our Autism at Work program began with the leadership of James Mahoney and Anthony Pasilio. It was a 4-person pilot in Delaware for the role of software testing. And it didn't take us long to realize the value of the talent. After just 6 months, the 4 individuals had a productivity rate that was close to 50% better than their peers, and they remained as top performers every month after. This story repeated itself across multiple lines of businesses as we started to expand within our organization. Today, we've hired 200 talented individuals across 40 roles, 8 countries, and 21 sites, and we have even more in the onboarding process as we speak. These are individuals who are grateful, appreciative, and loyal, and it's proven by the fact that we have a 90% retention rate with this talent. Now, for us to make continuous progress in terms of the expansion, we had to get the support and buy-in of our senior leaders. And I have to be honest, I would be lying if I said that every time we pitched the program to a new market or a new line of business, there was 100% buy-in. There were always questions, and some of the biggest questions were: 1, what roles are the right roles? And 2, what if this doesn't work out? The answer to number 1 is simple. Any role is the right role. For some reason, most tend to think technology roles or data king roles are most ideal, but the reality is that the neurodiverse are just like anyone else in that each individual has his or her own interest and skill set. Also, the Autism at Work program is not an act of charity. There is a pool of capable, underutilized, true talent who can creatively solution some of our problems. We just need to give them the opportunity. Number 2, what if this doesn't work out? Well, realistically, that's a possibility even with a neurotypical hire. However, the approach that we took in some cases is we let the neurodiverse try the roles out. And we did this through a 6 or 9 month assignment as a contractor, with the intent always being to hire them as JP Morgan employees if they performed to the set expectations, and more importantly, if they felt the job was a good career choice for them. Now, before we would onboard talent through the program, there was a lot of preparation and training involved in order to make sure that we were creating an inclusive culture and environment. We partnered with Rangam and Next for Autism on a number of fronts. First, the team assessed our workplace environment to provide feedback on what we may be missing, as well as bring to our attention any potential components that may cause an issue for someone on the spectrum. Things such as fluorescent lighting, loud machinery, high traffic areas, having floor layouts available, and visual aids related to the process or the dress code. Secondly was to support us in conducting autism awareness and inclusion sessions. And we trained over 1,000 employees within receivable operations alone. Today, JP Morgan has trained 5,300 employees on autism awareness. This goes from our maintenance staff to the hiring managers and onto our executive managers. And one of the benefits as we began to roll out and conduct more training sessions was that we started to see more individuals who hadn't previously disclosed that they were on the spectrum. They were now feeling more supported and comfortable enough to disclose with their manager and team, and would even share some of their unique challenges and perspectives. This caused the teams to be more empathetic and come together and build a level of support for each other. Which brings me to my next subject: supporting our neurodiverse talent. Earlier, I touched on the typical interviewing process and how it may not be the best method in identifying qualified talent. In receivable operations, we've tried a new interviewing process. Firstly, we minimized panel interviewing. Interviews cause enough anxiety as it is. Having four people on one side of the table doesn't help. Another thing we altered was, rather than the traditional question and answer approach, we started our interviews out with a tour of the production floor. We had our candidates shadow an employee for a few minutes so that they can see the type of work they would be doing and understand our process. Afterwards, we'd have a discussion with the candidate on how they felt about the role. And at this point, they had a clear understanding of what the job would require, which opened up the dialogue and allowed for more effective conversation. This allowed us to not only make sure they were the right employee for us, but for the talent to ensure that we were the right employer for them. Our partnership with Rangum was a huge piece of supporting our neurodiverse talent. Not only are they a predominant resource for us in terms of talent placement, which helps us make this a scalable program, but they've also been a key ingredient in the success of our program, as they provide ongoing support not only to our new hires, but to the hiring managers as well. They've collaborated with our JP Morgan teams to understand our process and the associated expectations, and have created simple yet detailed explanations through visual aids such as pamphlets, handouts, and videos, which, by the way, were also created by neurodiverse individuals. They are a big contributor to the success of our neurodiverse talent, especially here in receivable operations. So much so that our teams began to see the overall benefit of having these visual aids and started to think of ways that they can contribute in simplifying the function of payment processing through the power of universal design. Now, I'm sure most of you can agree that there have been quite a handful of unique and unexpected challenges over the past 8 months or so. I can think of one specifically, and it's probably the reason that we're all here virtually today. It's COVID-19, right? COVID-19 forced us to alter a lot of what we do, both on a professional and a personal level. Receivable operations, for the most part, is a 24/7 operation, which required quite a bit of adjustments in order to meet the COVID-19 standards. For JP Morgan, the safety of our employees was first. We altered our operating hours, we made schedule adjustments, and we followed social distancing guidelines, which means less employees required more real estate. This ultimately had an impact on our process. And while we were able to find space in terms of real estate, now we had to find the talent, and we needed to have them to be able to have a quick influence on the operation. The JP Morgan team designed and created workstation placemats that served as visual templates for our payment processors on where to place specific documents. The placemat also had images and instructions on how everything should look and be prepared. With these placemats, our new hires in their first month were processing the amount of payments that they would have in their third month of the traditional training method. I know most of you are probably thinking, what does any of this have to do with the Autism at Work program? But I honestly do not think that this solution would have been as successful without the autism awareness training and the program itself. Because the hiring managers of the program all had a say in how this mat should be designed, and they were thinking about how to make it beneficial for their neurodiverse talent. So that just goes to show that whether it's changing your interviewing process or designing new guides and tools, when you improve the experience for someone on the spectrum, you improve the experience for everyone. While we're on the subject of COVID-19, there are a few things very powerful that occurred within receivable operations, and it says a lot about the program that I would like to share with you all. As I mentioned earlier, we have a number of different hiring models for our Autism at Work program, which includes the contractor assignment. Well, during COVID, JP Morgan offered a plethora of additional benefits to our JP Morgan employees to help them get through the challenges of COVID-19. And like most employer benefits, that did not include our contractor population. So our management team quickly reached out to convert our neurodiverse talent from full-time contractors to full-time employees ahead of their assignment time to ensure that they would not miss out on any of the benefits. So I'm happy to say that not only have we converted 5 contractors to JP Morgan employees in the midst of COVID-19, but we've also hired 20 more neurodiverse employees, and we have every intention of continuing to add more. This is a testament not only of the talent and the capabilities of our new hires, but the inclusivity and the empathy that has enhanced our culture as a firm. The last thing I'll talk about today are the accommodations. Now, I saved this subject for last because I have to be honest, although we have had quite a few creative accommodations, there have not been any that have been costly to the firm. We've provided accommodations such as noise canceling headphones, assigned seating, dimmed lighting in a particular corner of the building, even coping mechanisms such as stress balls, raccoon tails to simulate the petting of a pet, and maybe an extra break or two if needed. But again, these are not costly, nor do they require a massive change to the business. But what they do accomplish is they truly make everyone feel included. I can't tell you how many of our neurodiverse individuals say they love their job at JP Morgan and it's the best job they've ever had because none of their previous employers made them feel accepted. We have fantastic employees who enjoy coming to work, want to prove their value, and hope to be here for a very long time. As for our neurotypical staff, they could not be more supportive. And I'll read you a quote directly from one of our hiring managers. This program has given us the patience to understand our talent. These individuals have not only inspired us, but also brought lots of energy into our teams. What's more, they provided us with some new perspectives on how we operate. Truly, we learn and grow from each other along the way. I think this goes to show that this program has provided an improved experience for both the talent and our business. At JP Morgan, we strive in hiring unparalleled talent regardless of their physical makeup. Our diverse culture is what makes us one of the world's largest and strongest financial institutions. Diversity breaks apart barriers, it improves innovation, collaboration, and overall culture. And our neurodiverse talent is no exception to the excellence in our diversity. I'm very passionate on this subject because, like I'm sure most of you here today, I have a personal connection to someone who would be considered disabled. My 7-year-old son was diagnosed with autism. He is a smart, loving boy who just happens to have a hard time constructing proper sentences and explaining his thoughts and feelings. As a parent, we spend our time finding the best ways to prepare our children for this world. And as I begin to see my son's character evolve and develop, and I begin to see what kind of opportunities are out there for the neurodiverse, I begin to see that the world is not prepared for my son or others like him. So I ask that we all take the time to continue to educate ourselves on the subject, help demystify the stereotypical misconceptions, and influence and drive opportunities within our organizations so that we can collectively redefine what capable talent looks like. Thank you. Tracy, over to you.
Well, thank you, Ramon, and I appreciate the dedication and support that you have given to working on the Autism at Work program, our partnership, and very inspiring. Appreciate a lot of passion and dedication. Thank you very much. And I am thrilled that you'll be joining us on our panel today as well. So thank you very much. It's great to have a company perspective join the suppliers here on a panel. So let me introduce myself. I'm Tracy Andrus, and I enjoy leading Wrangham's inclusive workforce solutions strategies and partnership development. And I get the great privilege of being able to work with Ramon on a day-to-day basis in the JP Morgan team. And I'm able to leverage my background and take a consultative approach with our clients to develop a best-in-class inclusive workforce solutions program while integrating people with disabilities and veterans. I'm very passionate about formulating strategies for inclusion, innovation, and awareness, where empathy and equity go hand in hand. And I'm also honored to be a member of our Disability Wisconsin board, and also actively engaged in a member of Disability International and the Next Gen Leaders program. So thank you for having me and allowing me to be a moderator and a panel. But more, I want to just introduce our fabulous rest of our panel. And with that, let me just go into a little bit about more and more companies are seeking neurodiverse talent to fill the skill gap and to expand their diversity and inclusion hiring. And the talent must be ready for employment and have the tools to be successful. And some people may go through traditional avenues like universities, tech schools, or government-funded programs, vocational rehabilitation to learn those skills. And others will seek non-traditional programs to gain opportunities to develop translatable skills that foster sustainable and rewarding careers. And joining today, I'm going to be highlighting the organizations that I have here. And there's some uniqueness about each one of us that we'll be sharing with you. And excited to have the conversation to share with you on what it is that we're offering and doing in working with this beautiful talent and working with our organizations. So to start us off, Mark, I would appreciate you sharing what you do and a little bit more about Islands of Brilliance.
Thanks, Tracy, and I'm so happy to be here with the Disability in Wisconsin community to talk today. Islands of Brilliance is a Milwaukee-based nonprofit. We describe ourselves as an early workforce development model. So we have STEAM learning experience for children, teens, young adults, adults on the autism spectrum. So actually we start with kids as young as age 8 and go into mid to late 20s. When we look at that unemployment rate that Ramon talked about earlier, we see that as pointing to really a systemic problem. And Ramon very articulately talked about employment, but we kind of look at that as the tip of the iceberg and then looking at the layers beneath that. So when it comes to parents, we're trying to help change their expectations around what the capabilities of their son or daughter are, and really help them navigate the system. It's very confusing for them, and we're there to kind of guide them on that path. And when it comes to transition at the school level, we are part of a National Science Foundation I-Corps team this summer and did some research around transition. And what we found is that too often it starts too late. There's too much checking off of the boxes of compliance and not necessarily using best practices. And a lot of times transition comes at the end of an IEP meeting. So we need transition to be the locomotive of that meeting, not the caboose. So we need to start talking about that earlier and implementing it. So when it comes to the students that we work with, it's really around changing their perceptions of self. I liked what Ramon talked about, what they're implementing as far as allowing individuals to kind of test drive roles. We're doing that at a very, very early age. So they get to learn things like Photoshop, Illustrator, 3D modeling, coding, things like that. So they can actually try those out. And in our workshops, we use the norms of the workplace so they get used to that. There's the stand-up meeting, there's collaboration, there's deadlines, they're working with a mentor. So using that all, earlier on helps develop, better outcomes. So one of the things we're working with now too, because we've shifted to distance learning, is integrating what we're doing into IEP and transition plans with schools and school districts. So all along the way, we're trying to get students started early and really develop that talent pool from a young age so that there are better outcomes and more candidates for everyone to place in job openings. So that's what we're involved with.
Great. Thank you very much, Mark. And Josh, please share more about yourself and Mindshift.
Yeah, thanks, Tracy. I'm Josh Tigan. I'm the president of Mindshift. And what Mindshift does is we recruit, assess, train, and employ high functioning individuals on the autism spectrum. And so what that means is we partner with private businesses and identify roles and skills that they need in their workplace in order to, conduct day-to-day business. We then go out and recruit talent on the autism spectrum. We bring people in for a formal assessment process, and then everyone goes through 4 to 6 weeks worth of training. This is where we teach them everything from soft skills such as, what does it mean to be a good employee, what to where to work, what are appropriate conversations in the workplace, all the way down to really technical skills training, whether that be data analytics or software development and testing, and a variety of other things outside of IT. So we then employ the individual on the spectrum. We place them in that role with the private business, and then we remain in the picture from a support side. So we have an employment services team that I equate to if you have a professional athlete that operates at this peak performance level, on the back end, they have an agent, a head coach, a strength and conditioning coach, nutritionist, all of those things that keep them operating at that peak performance level. That's what our employment services team does for the specialists that we work with. And then we're also a resource to our business partners. So if there's ways that we can find a way to serve them better or navigate something, we're there, and we're not just turning over our specialists and assuming the business partner to get the most out of them.
That's great, Josh. It's great, great information that you have both shared. And just a little bit more about Rangam as before we move into the next session. Rangam, we are a minority woman disability owned workforce solution company, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, but our philosophy of empathy drives innovation really influences everything that we do. And since we specialize in attracting and retaining the talent globally in a variety of different roles, IT, finance, engineering, scientific, clinical, and such, we really focus on integrating individuals with autism and veterans into the workforce. And we do this by leveraging our proprietary technology and educational tools to bring a connected, inclusive, and engaged community to work. And we do that by partnering with organizations like Mindshift, Islands of Brilliance, and such. And through our disability inclusion programs like SourceAbled, we also build an ecosystem to bring those cross-functional teams, our partners, experts, our clients, and talent with common goals and shared values together to create sustainable pathways for meaningful careers. At the end of the day, what you heard from all of us here, including Ramon earlier, is that each organization is working to provide opportunities to talent with autism and other neurodiversities to companies like JP Morgan. And you will hear throughout the session here on ways in which they're supporting the talent, and then some beautiful stories that we'll wrap up here at the end. So we heard, we see that there's a variety of us here on, and Ramon talked a little bit about this in the very beginning in his keynote. And so I want to touch base on collaboration. And historically, companies within our industry shy away from collaborating and partnering. However, we do live in different times. And even in the tech and automotive industry, we're seeing fierce competitors now collaborating. We all are understanding the value of collaboration. And so I'm going to start off with Mark again. And please share some of your collaborative efforts that you have created positive outcomes for those that have engaged with your company.
Yeah, I think collaboration is really part of our core values. And my friend Dan Terrence, who's part of Disability In, talks about how all of our boats have to be pulling in the same direction, and we're big believers in that. So our collaboration kind of takes on two forms. One is in placement, one is in projects. So by placement, I mean of the organizations that are on the call, whether it's Mindshift or Goodwill or Easter Seals, Project Search, Best Buddies. Our team had a call with you, Tracy, yesterday at Wrangham. Those companies that are actively engaged in placing neurodiverse talent in jobs. All right. So we're trying to groom the talent for that pool so there are more candidates to place. Now, the way we do that is through projects. So our collaborations are with both for-profit and nonprofit organizations and companies. We've worked with GE Healthcare, Kohl's, Summerfest, 889 Radio Milwaukee, the Urban Ecology Center, a lot of work with UW Milwaukee. And through those collaborations, we are able to engage professionals who will define the curriculum, the projects and products that are coming out of them, and then helping with instruction and mentoring. So that creates that experiential perception change that we need at the corporate level to showcase what our community, the capabilities within that. So one of I think maybe the most high profile collaboration to date that we've done is with Light the Hone, which is a nonprofit organization here in Milwaukee that actually just lit the Hone Bridge last week. Foresight Studios, which is a gaming virtual reality studio here in Milwaukee, and then UWM's Lubar Entrepreneurship Center and Immersive Media Lab. So last year we built a virtual reality experience of what the bridge would look like lit up, and we had 13 individuals on the autism spectrum who helped build that. It was a huge success. It got a ton of press. I think it actually helped meet their fundraising goals to get the bridge lit. And it, the students were out in the community demonstrating in a lot of different tech events. So that's kind of the perfect example of creating a product and a project that demonstrates the capabilities of our students and working with organizations to bring that all together.
And that was a beautiful display, the Hone Bridge. So nice work on that one. It was fabulous. And Josh, please share.
Yeah, so how Mindshift approaches collaboration and partnerships, it's really at the forefront of everything that we do. So even our business customers, we actually refer to them as strategic partners rather than customers, because as a staffing business, we're far less transactional than our peers that don't specialize in neurodiversity. So our touch points are much higher. And it really takes, it's not just a business, buying into a resume and an interview. It's far more involved than that. It's a cultural decision that usually starts from the top down for our customers. And so really when you start to go through what it takes for us to successfully work with a private business, it is a partnership, not a business transaction where we're a vendor like a staffing organization would be. So partnerships are kind of at the core of our business because it's what helps pay the bills. It's what employs our individuals. But throughout kind of the value chain of what we do, the partnerships are extremely important, because whether it's partnering with local universities or high schools or even Voc Rehab or other agencies for sourcing talent, even partnering with companies like Wrangham for sourcing, talent or work that we can help meet the needs of. We're in a unique position where most staffing businesses have plenty of jobs, but they're working to find people. There's plenty of unemployed individuals on the autism spectrum, but we struggle to find jobs. So partnering with somebody who has the other side of that equation has been very valuable for us. And then we're not the only company that's trying to improve the life of individuals on the spectrum. So partnering with other organizations like Islands of Brilliance or many other organizations across the US and across the world in just sharing ideas and best practices. And, we're certainly not perfect and can always be learning things from our peers and in other markets with other business models, and constantly trying to share those ideas openly, because the market's pretty fragmented and we all have a common goal. And so collaborating towards that goal is something that's super important to us.
That's great, Josh. Thank you very much and appreciate that. And I agree with you on the partnership. It really is a partnership, and it's about really we value. You can hear all of us valuing the talent in which we work with, and the companies or organizations in which we partner with, and collaborating for success. We have an outcome. We really do want to see and sustainable careers. And Ramon, you talked a little bit about this in your keynote, and I wonder if you'll expand a bit on, you hear how we're partnering, and I shared earlier how Rangam creates an ecosystem of bringing in those providers and experts into our organization so that we can create the best possible support for natural support for our talent, as well as providing the talent to our clients. But if you can share a little bit about collaboration and how that works within JP Morgan and what we have done.
Sure. Excuse me. One of the things that I didn't touch on in my keynote was that we also have business resource groups available to our employees. One of our resource groups is called Accessibility, and it's for individuals who may have challenges, whether it's for physical disability or or an intellectual disability, whatever the case may be. We've got a resource group, and Rangam has really helped that resource group flourish in making the connections with that community, right? Having individuals partake in things. And I know last year for the National Disability Month, we had a panel discussion where it was myself speaking more so from the perspective of a parent. Tracy, you were there, right, to just talk about the perspective of the type of talent that is out there, right, the untapped talent. And we also had one of our employees that we hired through the program talk about the success of the program and what it's done for him as an employee, which caused a lot of great discussions. The audience members were very engaged. Right at the end, we had a lot of people talking about their personal connections and how happy they are to see programs such as the Autism at Work program. So I don't think that those resource groups would be as effective if we did not have that collaboration with Rangam.
Thank you very much, Ramon. I appreciate that. And I enjoy listening to Mindshift and Island of Brilliance and hearing different ways that we can all, create better success and outcomes. So I want to move into how do we go about developing and supporting our team members. And so with this wonderful talent that we have been talking about, once the opportunity presents itself, our team must be prepared and ready. And so you heard what starting at age 8, which I think is a beautiful thing with Island of Brilliance. And you're going to hear some other exciting things coming from both of those, Mindshift and Island of Brilliance, what they're doing. And we need to be sure that the talent has opportunity to continue to grow and gain skills from traditional resources, but many of them seeking professional development elsewhere. And there's lots of different ways in which they can do that. And luckily, they can engage in companies like those in this session to get that expertise. And then additionally, even as they get hired on at companies like JP Morgan, they continue to thrive and grow because of the development efforts that are in place. So I want to share, Josh, I know Mindshift, you have engaged in both the skill development and supporting your talent. And I'm excited for you to share with us why you're investing in skill development and providing such opportunities.
Yeah, thanks, Tracy. So as I mentioned a little bit before, Mindshift, we put everybody that comes through our doors through 4 to 6 weeks of training, kind of with basic skills, and then even more advanced technical skills applicable to the role they'll be moving into. Well, that training historically is taking place in person. And actually, as a result of COVID, challenges bringing forth new innovation, we looked at it and we said, how can we deliver value maybe with fewer touch points or no touch points at all? And so we're currently in the middle of about a $250,000 initiative to build what's called the MindShift Academy, which will be a digital learning solution tailored specifically to the way that individuals on the autism spectrum learn and process information, and able to kind of self-select tracks that they want to go down, whether it's even hands-on assembly roles that we can administer that training virtually, data analytics, software development and testing, supply chain, a vast array of areas that we work in now, but expanding it to not just be confined to our 3 physical markets right now of Fargo, Minneapolis, Milwaukee, and soon to be Denver, but really broadening that scope and the ability for us to serve people across the United States and across the world with what we've been able to learn over the past 7 years in business. And so we're really excited about that. We believe it's crucial in terms of providing an alternative to just higher education. People come through our doors with varying degrees of formal education and skills, from high school degrees to master's degrees from universities. And so upskilling and cross-skilling the talent that we have within our organization is super important, but then also providing those resources to a broader audience and delivering it in a way that is catered to and completely 508 compliant for people across the country is something that we're really, really excited about. About a year ago, we took a big risk and we actually paid a team of individuals in the Milwaukee market to be a data outsource team. And we did nothing but training for essentially 6 straight months without any assurances that there'd be work on the other side. And it's been a resounding success with what those individuals have been able to accomplish. And they're actually instrumental in creating the training and kind of back training for the content that will be administered through the MindShift Academy. So the development and support, I would say, is as strongly woven through our business fabric at MindShift as it's ever been, and it continues to be a cornerstone for what the future looks like for us.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We're excited for the outcome of that. Very good. And Islands of Brilliance, you have also invested in providing skill development programs that is really at the heart of what you are and what you're doing. Mark, please share with us how you make this happen on a daily basis, I hear.
Yeah, from the get-go, we've been the beneficiary of so many individuals within the community who've become mentors. And that's really been kind of the key to our success and growth. And what we see is with the professionals and undergraduates who are involved with our program, not only is that helping our students, but it's helping them as well be better professionals. They come in and work with our students, learn new ways to communicate and lead, and they take that back into their work environment, which is so that becomes a win-win for both parties involved. And part of it too is, when they work with our students, they're seeing rapid technology adaptation. They're constantly blown away by how our students so quickly pick up different aspects of software and processes. And then just, I think one of the more underrated qualities of this community is the innovative thinking, the ability to connect dots in ways that us mere neurotypicals struggle with sometimes. So often what we see is the professionals who are working with our community is like, man, they're coming up with ideas that I don't even know how they get to. So that, we see that as a potential market, right, for innovation and blue sky thinking, design thinking, things like that, that we want to tap into. So the fact that, when we first started the program, it's like, are we asking a lot of these mentors to come in and work with students? And they're telling us, no, this rejuvenates our creativity. It rejuvenates how we look at our process. It makes us better leaders. It makes us more empathetic. It improves our communication skills, back within the workplace. So the amount of support that we've received from the community and how it's helped us develop our talent, it's just been this wonderful relationship between both parties.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And a little bit about what Wrangham is doing around with our team members. So we're really focused on upskilling and our partnerships. So as I talked about earlier, we bring in our partners where we know that they've got expertise and they're doing different areas as far as what Island of Brilliance or Mindshift and others are doing. And we also have a partnership with Stanford University, working closely with their Neurodiversity Center and Dr. Fung on a special program, which is exciting because we can leverage the education coming from there. But Wrangham had started out working on education and technology tools to begin with before we launched into our Source-Able program for the to provide a holistic approach to the hiring. But it's really about the talent and making sure that the talent has the tools to be successful on the job. And we do that by utilizing our ecosystem of partners to be sure that they can tap into whether that's soft or hard skills or however it may be. And then they have within the Source-Able program, we build a community. So whether those are the mentors, the buddies, however it is that we need to create those natural supports so that they will have rewarding and sustainable employment. That is another component that we want to make sure that they have available to them. And there's our Wrangham Cares team who stays with them from the beginning of their onboarding to when they offboard. And hopefully when they're offboarding into our client as their employee is our goal at the end of the day. And so that team engages with them throughout their assignment, but then they also are going through the personal, professional growth. And that's the partnerships that I talked about earlier on. But we really do focus on the screening in. And a lot of the placements in which we're working on may have some technical components. So there are technical assessments that we will be utilizing. And in some cases, if our talent comes to us and they have a degree in something, but they would like to be able to advance and be a business analyst, we'll work with them so they can get on that trajectory to move into and find a business analyst role. They don't have the work history or work experience, but we want to continue to grow them within their career and make sure that they can get that opportunity and achieve their dream too. Just like any one of us would want to. I think, Mark, you talked about, on the neurotypical side, they have dreams just as we all have dreams. And so we want that we can do that. And I love the programs that Mindshift and Island of Brilliance are doing because those are so needed and they really make a huge difference in creating those opportunities. And I will say that within JP Morgan, I applaud you on creating the buddies and really stepping up to be true mentors within the talent that's placed and throughout your Autism at Work program as a whole. So thank you very much, you guys, for that. Now we're getting close. It's time for us to tell our stories, which we all love our stories. So Ramon, I'm going to have you start us off with a story about your favorite. So this is where we all have a favorite story, and we have more than one story. I will tell you, it's very hard for us to just tell you one. But that's what, it warms our hearts. It reminds us why we do what we do, but more importantly, it shines a light on how truly uniqueness and the talent that we have in this community. And so, Ramon, if you would please start us off, that would be great.
Sure. Sure. I think you're absolutely right, Tracy. There's a lot of favorite stories. I mean, we've had folks who pretty much hit the jackpot on Wheel of Fortune, and we've had artists and won awards for their art. But I think just one in general that has always left an impression on me, and it always pops in my head from time to time is it was Tracy when we took the team out to Dave and Buster's to I think it was to celebrate their conversion, and just seeing the community and the relationships that they built. When we arrived, they were all hugging each other, right? And these are a group of individuals who 6 or 7 months ago didn't know each other, right? And the relationships that they built. And I just remember when I saw them hug, I knew immediately that what we were doing is a great thing, right? It's the right thing to do. I mean, I've worked with people for 8 years and I've never hugged them, right? Like, I think a lot of us have done that. And to see them have that much care for one another and the conversations they would have, and just the talks about, how they're liking their roles. And it was so great to see. And it just made me want to be a part of that community and a part of that circle. So that's definitely one that I will probably never forget.
Thank you, Ramon. And again, that was pre-COVID, everybody that's on this virtual call.
Thanks for the clarification, Tracy.
But anyway, I think the beautiful thing is that they watch out for each other, and it was a connected community. It was our JP Morgan team and the SourceAble team members all coming together, and that's what was a beautiful thing about it. So Mark, you have a story, please share.
I actually have lots of stories. It's really hard to pick from. And our run through last week, I answered differently than I'm going to answer today. I'm going to tell two quickly. First, student Nathan, who started with our program, I think in 2017. I think he was 13 years old. Started doing Photoshop Illustrator, but really had a passion for coding. Wanted to work for the FBI in cybersecurity. So, his skills were kind of all over the map. He kind of thought he knew what he was doing, but he became part of our digital academy, worked on the Light the Hone project in Unity, learned Unity coding. Great mentor, Hector Borges, has really kind of taken him under his wing. And through that Light the Hone experience, he also went out in the community and did some of these demonstrations at a Startup Milwaukee event. He actually took Mayor Barrett through the Light the Hone experience. And Mayor Barrett posted on Facebook a photo of him in the VR environment with Nathan standing next to him. He's been at different STEM conferences. He's been interviewed twice on local TV stations, talks very articulately and passionately about, his skills, and to hear it from his mom, it's like he really struggles in school. That's not an environment for him. He struggles with it. But in our environment, if you build off his strengths, he's flourishing now. Now he can go to MSO if he wants, be employed. So that's one aspect of it. And I just love the fact that our kids are out in the community and talking about their strengths and talents. This next one happened yesterday, and I apologize if I get emotional. Sarah, who's been with our program since 2013 when she was 17, actually I was her first mentor, kind of sporadically enrolled, but now she's also part of the Digital Academy, took on 3D modeling, was really lacking confidence, really wouldn't take direction, kind of had the physical, scrunched, body language of it. She's really grown into this role and now loves 3D modeling. Yesterday, her skills have really blossomed. Yesterday, she asked a group of mentors and instructors to stay after our software development sprint and ask them what job opportunities are out there for her.
Good for her. So
you talk about someone who's gone from being very shy and lacking confidence into being a self-advocate for what she wants to do. That's amazing.
That is, and I could see why that is beautiful. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for sharing. And what you were saying there, Mark, I just want to share one little short piece before I head over to you, Josh, is that I have one of our beautiful talent that we've placed. He has, and he's allowing me to share this. He has autism and dyslexia, and he found it extremely difficult to communicate or find a job. And he said that he struggled quite a bit with the comprehension, and then his anxiety would really elevate. And he felt he looked at Wrangham and our Source Stable program as a way that we could help him overcome his anxiety and the previous employment issues and difficulties that he was having, and help him really land a good job. As he referred to, a great job is what he was looking for. And then he said, and you did, and I'm happy. And so we worked to prepare him. What you hear, we worked to prepare him so he could be better and more comfortable to be that self-advocate. So much so that with working with the employer and providing the right accommodations so that he could do the work that he needed to do as a software developer with having autism and dyslexia, and utilizing the greatness that comes from that, he was able to land a position with a very large global professional services firm as their employee, and be part of a very large global team going forward and working at other client sites. I'm so proud of them. It's, it is a beautiful thing when they can flourish with the right tools and support. So Josh, I know you've got another one like that you can share.
Yeah, just like everyone stated, it's really hard to narrow it down to one. Every time that, we hear from a business partner how shocked they are with, the success of one of our specialists, or, you hear about a specialist that is buying their first home because of their employment with us. All of those are great stories. If I had to pick a favorite, there is one that comes to mind. It's now one of our largest customers, and it was our first placement ever with them. They were looking for a data analyst, and they are a very company, and the data science drove the actuarial services that basically was the foundation for their entire organization. They're a Fortune 20 organization. They came to Mindshift and they said, we'd like a data analyst. Well, we had someone that came through our doors who was working part-time on the night shift loading boxes for UPS, which is good work. But we assessed him and we said, this guy's brilliant. And we actually placed him in that data analyst role. 4 days into his job, he went to the senior vice president of the whole company and he said, hey, do you mind if I do my job different? And he kind of smiled and he said, well, what do you mean? And our specialist, whose name is Sam said, I think I found a way to automate everything that we do in this department. And so they kind of laughed and said, well, why don't you show me? And so he went back to his desk and walked him through this algorithm that he had written that essentially automated everything that their department did, which was 55 neurotypical data analysts. And so they called Mindshift and they said, hey, can we have this? And, our response was, well, we didn't develop it. Sam did. Ask him. And he yeah, you guys can use it. And they naturally said, well, how did you come up with this? And he said, well, this had nothing to do with my job here. I wrote this algorithm to track myself against the people I play video games against at home. And I thought if I tweaked it and applied it here, it would automate a lot of what we do. So, they were, astounded. And so they actually fired or reallocated all 55 of their data analysts in that division. And now all of the data analytics at that company is run by 10 Mindshift specialists. And they do about 2 times the output that those 55 individuals did prior. And so Sam now actually manages the whole team and is the liaison between the upper management and the Mindshift specialists. And 4 days prior, he was loading boxes at night for UPS. And so I love the story, but it's a testament to why Mindshift exists, because if Sam walks through the doors at that company and applies for that job and his resume says, package handler at UPS, and he does an interview well, there's no way that company on their own says, this guy's going to make one hell of a data analyst and transform our entire business. So that it's a great story for Sam. It's a great story for our business, and it's a great story to show, why Mindshift exists and why the work that we're doing is important. So if I had to pick a favorite story, I think that's my favorite.
And that is a fabulous story. And thank you and congratulations. And so you can hear that our job and passion is to create more opportunities for this talented community in which we represent and serve. I want to thank you, Josh, Mark, Ramon, fabulous, appreciate it. Tracy for being our coordinator here as well, and Katie and team. Those of you who are attending our session today, if you are in a position to collaborate or partner for employment opportunities, I hope you'll raise your hand. Become a champion for your company and seek incredible partners like those you heard from today to become part of your village. Together, we can create an inclusive disability hiring program and impact lives and make change happen. I really appreciate it, and be sure, I'm going to turn over to you, Tracy, to hear how we're going to wrap this up. Thank you.
Sounds great. Well, thank you. That was a really awesome session. Just watching some of the comments in the chat have been really inspirational as well. So that does end our session here. We will be communicating the recordings of all of our sessions in the next few weeks to come. Once all our sessions are completed and we've reorganized things, we will be communicating. If you do have questions about Disability In, how you can get more involved, definitely reach out at info@disabilityinwisconsin.org. Thanks again to this team, and that ends our session today. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.